Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me, he's in person today, is Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert, how impressive of a win was this for the Rams to go on the road to Seattle and win 30-13?
Yeah, it was very impressive, Victor. But I'm gonna start out by saying this: was Matthew Stafford talking about me when he said
Yes.
nobody on the outside noise knows what the heck they're talking about? And I'm like, I guess he's talking about me because I picked the Seahawks to dominate the Rams. And yeah, he's right. Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about because it was week one. We're going into a lot of unknown. Oh yeah, he wasn't talking about you for sure, Victor. You got that right. So let's get it out the way. Take your victory lap. But hey, shout out to Matthew Stafford. He looked fantastic in that week one performance. I was definitely shocked in terms of the performance. Not the win. I could see like a division rival getting the victory, but how dominant they were, the beatdown in the second half, I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean it was impressive. I was doing some research on this game. Now that we had some time, I was on live, and I had to get a bunch of stuff out of there. Give everybody some information. But I mean, to hold the Seahawks to 12 yards total in the second half, becoming what was it for the first, what was it? Here, according to ESPN stats and info, Rams defense held Seattle to their fewest yards and a half since 1979. Gilbert, that was impressive. We talked
Wait,
about
second
the
half or first? I forget. Wait.
second half. In
Yeah,
the
that makes
second
sense.
half,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, they were 168, 167 in the first half total yards for the Rams in Seattle. Second half, 12 total yards. I mean, that was an impressive effort by that Rams defense that nobody still knows outside of Aaron Donald, right, Gilbert?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was watching the replay not too long ago, and there was a story that Aaron Donald had to introduce himself to his new teammates because they're all new and they're young and like the those idiots in the outside world, they don't know the players, but Aaron Donald did it the right way. He introduced himself, and speaking about Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford, on both sides, offense and defense, they had to introduce themselves and get to know each other. So I think overall they knew it's going to be a long project to get everybody on board, but it just shows how much they've come along and this one game to put a summer in where I bet you Aaron Donald could have been like easy, like I'm making a lot of money. I'm a Super Bowl champion. I'm a first ballot Hall of Fame. And same thing with Stafford. I don't know about first ballot, but maybe he'll get your Hall of Fame eventually. But they said, you know what, we're gonna rally together, and you could tell even Sean McVay's post games presser. I love the grit. I love the fight. So, yeah, and sticking to the defense, man, they were very impressive. Uh, there was some growing pains on that first drive when the Seahawks were going down. DK Metcalf, I don't know if that was a touchdown. Actually, no, the first drive was a stop, and they were moving down the field. Gino was passing the ball, and I'm like, okay, I see Darion Kendrick making a play. Ernest Jones set the tone with some big physical bruising tackles, and I think they got the stop. I could be wrong there, but then after that, they did allow the DK Metcalf touchdown. But I think just showing that first fight on the first drive, hey, we're gonna hang with you guys. We're gonna be legit, and I was just impressed. Like I don't want to jump the gun, but like a guy like DK, not the other DK, he really stepped up. I'm like, we just automatically assume he was done because Trey Thompson is coming in. So, for these guys to grow, especially the second year guys, the Russ Yeast as well, and then Aaron Donald bringing that defensive line together. And I kept telling you, Vic, I want to see this group with Aaron Donald. Like what's gonna happen? Same old Aaron Donald scaring the crap out of Geno Smith, and then the rest of the guys, Michael Hoyt, Byron Young, they're doing their thing as well. So that defense, man, maybe that's probably the most impressive part.
Yeah, and just hearing Geno Smith saying, "Oh my God!" Like, hey, it tells you
Like he
like
knows who's coming down.
exactly, like, and he put a hit on him right before that too, where he slammed him to the ground, and he got a 15-yard penalty on that for roughing the passer. But they set the tone on defense. They were really good in terms of their scheme. They had a good game plan with Raheem Morris. I hope, and I've been reading a bunch of clips from people who follow the Rams, who cover the Rams, I should say, and they're all giving Raheem Morris his flowers because he rightfully so. I talked about it. I said this is going to be his campaign. He missed out on a bunch of jobs, head coaching jobs, and now he's out to prove. And I think next summer, come next summer, he's going to be up for some head coaching jobs.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, especially if he gets this defense, up to. I'm not saying they might be like a top five defensive unit, but if they're like top 10, top 12, and they're doing their job and holding it down for the offense, like, yeah, he definitely deserves a head coaching job because he's shown two things. He said, "Hey, you want me to do it this way with the personnel that you have? Okay, I'll adjust my scheme, and it's not what I believe in, but you know what? I'll make it work for you guys." He won a Super Bowl that way. Now, okay, let me do my thing, and then being that creative with such a young kind of core group, yeah, you have Aaron Donald, but after that, so inexperienced. So, like, what's the excuse after that? So, I know Raheem Morris got that job with the Buccaneers when he was very young, and it didn't work out. But after a while, the guy, it's kind of like the Geno Smith factor. You get your chance early, you don't deliver, but you're grinding, you're working, you put in the hours, and then your second opportunity comes, you get that job. So, I know it's early, but Raheem Morris doing his thing week one with such an inexperienced group was really impressive to me.
Yeah, and we're 6 minutes in, Gilbert, and we haven't talked about the two young players. One who you had some, you had some questions about whether everything he has shown in the offseason was going to live up because you've seen this story before in Tutu Atwell. He goes 6 catches for 119 yards. And then you have the guy like I said, he reminded me of Cooper Cup and he showed out. I mean, Puka Nacua 10 receptions for 119 yards. Just give me your thoughts on those two receivers.
Yeah, first thing I want to say, like, last year when I was critical of the Rams, it was never that Sean McVay can't coach. It was like too many damn injuries. It's not a good offensive line. You got to repair it because you can't do your thing when you don't have protection. And I saw glimpses last year where, I don't know what the story is between, Les Snead and Sean McVay, who wanted Tutu or not. But you could tell last year Sean McVay's like, well, he's our guy. He's here. We're gonna make it work. And we saw a couple of games where Tutu was getting the ball not on go routes. It was like he was creating design scheme plays for him to get open. It just wasn't enough because there was no protection. You can't let the play develop if you have no protection. And then there was John Wolford and I already forgot, is it Bryce Perkins, the other backup?
Yeah,
That shows you
Bryce
how long.
Hopkins.
There you go, Hopkins. That's how long we've come along with the Rams quarterbacks. But now there was protection. Now you have Matthew Stafford. By the way, he's back, and I think that answered a big question because when you go through a concussion, a spinal cord injury, there are concerns like, are you going to be the same guy? And he's still that same guy. But going back to the Tutu point, there was protection, and you could tell. And I like watching the broadcast because Mark Sanchez is pretty funny, but he
Yeah,
also has very good insight. Like, look at this play here. He's getting them open. He's getting Jefferson and Puka to go that way to kind of throw off the defense, and then out of nowhere comes Tutu Atwell because he's so small that like if maybe you do, yeah, he's fast. He could beat you out on a go route, but when it comes to the press, he's gonna push. They're gonna push you because he's too small. And I think after that initial kind of like battle of physicality, which he won't win, he gets open, and you saw that in the inside kind of route. That was very impressive. And then not just that, Vic. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that 8 targets is probably among his career high. To get
yeah,
that many targets and then that many receptions, that shows that he was heavily involved. And then with Puka, man, like I think we all saw this coming. It's not even a
yes,
surprise. Uh, it's gotten to the point where like I think you made a comparison to Robert Woods. I don't want to go that way, but like he's looking like Cooper Cup too.
yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just us. It's been great seeing, we talk down preseason and training camp, and like I want to see it in the regular season, and he went out and did exactly that, and that was great to see because it doesn't happen a lot. You've been to many training camps, Gilbert, and preseason. You know better than I do that a lot of this stuff doesn't translate, but there was just something special about this kid. Like I said, it's only one game, but I do want to say this: two things in terms of Puka and Tutu Atwell. They became the first duo age 23 and younger with 100 plus receiving yards since 1958. And I had to look up who Dale Schaffner and Lamar Lundy were. They played for the Rams in the
Oh
50s,
wow,
so that just tells you how long ago it was. And then Puka Nacua becomes the fourth player, as I talked about yesterday. Puka Nacua becomes the fourth player in NFL history with 10 receptions or more and 100 receiving yards in his first career game.
wow.
So he's in good company there. And then the last point I wanted to make, Gilbert, was that you made about Tutu Adwell. If you saw the play where they in the on that fourth and goal. It looked they because of how well Tutu Atwell played in this game, it set up that run pitch to Cam Akers because the Seahawks defense thought it was going to be a jet sweep to him, which I told you one of the things that the Seahawks seem to always get killed by the Rams is the jet sweep, and it was a great call by McVay, and so I shout out to McVay for that. I wanted to point that out.
That was such a beautiful play call design. And when I saw Stafford do the pitch, I'm like, that even surprised me. That was a perfect pitch there. And that the way they, Cam Akers went to the opposite side, pretty much open there. And I thought about what you said on the jet sweeps, like they're thinking about it and it threw them off. And again, it was another reminder about Sean McVay as a play caller and designing plays. And I saw one of the comments on your live, by the way, Victor. Somebody says it's probably one of Sean McVay's best performances. He's been in big games, so I don't know if I could rank it, but I was very impressed, especially with that play. And I want to say this, and I'll give you maybe kind of the downside of this style, but I really admire how patient Sean McVay was with the running game. It wasn't an impressive day overall. It wasn't 100 yards, 92, but you could tell he was setting the tone. And I hate when I do different sports analogies, but like boxing, when you work the body, eventually they're going to fall.
Yes,
And they keep attacking to give a balance where you want to protect your quarterback and Matthew Stafford. That helps the offensive line too, throwing off the defense. So being so patient with Kyrie Williams, by the way, staying healthy. That was not a thing a year ago. That was big. And Cam Akers, a solid 1-2 punch. But it wasn't working in the first half. They were down in the first half, and they kept running the ball. And Tutu wasn't really going in the first half. But another thing about being patient, they kept going to 2-2. Second half, he gets open. The one that was steady was Puka, which is amazing to think he's a fifth round rookie. But that patient overall approach really opened it, like you mentioned, that crazy staff for the Seahawks in the second half. Like they really took over. And I was watching the replay. By the time of that beautiful play to Kyron Williams, like no, Cam Akers, I'm done watching. I've seen enough. They're going to cruise for the rest of the way. So the patience approach is really good. I just worry like next week when they play the
yes,
49ers,
I talked
an
about it.
explosive offense. You can't really play ball control, but that's a problem for another day.
Yes, exactly. Take this win. Like I said on the live. Like you take this win because nobody picked you. Nobody expected this. And so and Seattle. Like I told you, there's a lot of problems there, and that they're gonna need to clean up, and they have a bunch of injuries. So and then having Stafford and Aaron Donald back, it helped a lot. I want to just go give you some quick stats that I kind of went over. Like Cam Akers gained 22 carries and only 29 yards. I think was part of the plan. Like as you talked about, it was all about ball control, and then same thing with Kyron Williams getting 15 carries for 52 yards. I thought Kyron looked better than Cam Akers out there. He was getting through the offense, and we're this far deep into our conversation, and we haven't talked about the offensive line. No sacks, only 6 or 7 hurries on Matthew Stafford. I mean, this tells you. And then I shout out to Steve Avila. He had a great game. I haven't seen the PFF scores, but I'm sure he did really well.
Yeah, and even Joe Noteboom on that right side with Havenstein, they look good, and Alaric Jackson on the left side. So I think they found their five, and that's big. If you keep the same combination, I'm pretty sure it's Coleman Shelton 65 right at the center. So you got the five guys, but we kind of already expected when they made the move to move Joe Noteboom to the guard spot. Okay, we know where they are. I guess they missed out on Tremaine Ankrum, but we had a feeling it'll be Noteboom to take over eventually there. But then they have depth too. Something happens. They got Ankrum and they got Kevin Dotson too. So the offensive line is in a good place, and it just makes everything so much better. The running game, Matthew Stafford passing the ball, letting the play develop. So overall, that was great to see. And like you mentioned, the rookie Steve Avila. So another young guy, and Steve Avila. You got Byron Young. You got Kobe Turner. The only one you didn't see too much is Trey Tomlinson because Darion Kendrick, man, he really showed out. I'll get to him in a bit. You wish you saw more from Van Jefferson, but he had a pretty critical third down catch like
Yes.
early in the game. I'm like, cool, that sets up the tone. Then he had a big drop later on. But if you get him going, and you got Tutu doing what he's doing, and you have Puka, then you right the ship and you wait it out for Cooper Cup to return.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention that they confirmed that Cooper Cup was placed on IR. He's going to miss the first 4 games, and at least for now, they're well equipped with the wideouts that they have. And then there was another thing I kind of wanted to mention. Brett Maher, the
Yeah.
kicker, they brought him up from the practice squad. Goes 3 for 5. I mean, he gets one block, and the other one he misses for over 50 yards. I thought, especially in that hostile environment that is Lumen Field, it was a good performance. You don't need much from a kicker in that situation, but when they needed those points, he got them, and I thought that was a good performance.
Yeah, that's if we're gonna find something negative, the special team's a little off, and
Yes.
and it's a new kicker. But I know he's a veteran; he's been around the league. But yeah, if they get those, they got to make those kicks, and they got to figure it out. But other than that, I thought it was a good performance, and uh, you know, I was wondering how they do it with a young punter and a young long snapper, but it wasn't a disaster. Like I saw the Giants game, and there's special teams miscue, so it wasn't that bad. But that's kind of nitpicking, and that kind of tells you how great it went for the Rams.
Yeah, and let's just get into final thoughts here, just on this big win, and kind of look ahead to next week. I mean, this was an impressive win for the Rams, and now it sets things up because we talked about it all through preseason about how tough the schedule is going to be, and I just thought going up to Seattle and winning this game was very critical if they wanted to start 2-2 or have a chance to have make the playoffs this season. And so for them to go up there, I thought this was a really quality win. And then now there's a bunch of questions with the Seahawks, and that's what you want to do as a team who has no expectations, is to prove the doubters wrong. And then Matt Stafford, just seeing him healthy out there running with the ball, like I was like, wait, where are you going? And he
Yeah,
he really
yeah.
wasn't. But that was another thing that really impressed me about this Rams win.
Yeah, I'll touch a little bit on Stafford like that. That is such a big deal. Like that he's healthy and then what the report came out that the Jets were trying to trade for him, and we heard all the whispers during the off season. Okay, like they maybe the Rams want to get rid of him, maybe they regret the extension, and then he comes out and he balls out. And then you hear the story about Kelly Stafford on the podcast saying he's disconnected. They're on the same page on Sunday with all these young guys. So, like Sean McVay being the coach, like again, Stafford doing his job with these young guys and getting them on the same page. Like that's a lot of work, I bet, throughout the whole offseason and get everybody on the same page and make sure you're in the right spots and so many new pieces. So we're gonna play that well, and then trust a rookie and Puka. Like you saw what he did in the summer, trust it in the game. You've been working with Tutu Atwell, trust it in the game. So that's all big. And with Stafford, he hasn't even played that much with Tutu because he didn't play his rookie year Tutu Atwell, and then Stafford got hurt a year ago. So to kind of show that together was pretty impressive. Now on the flip side, let me highlight more the secondary on the defense because the second year guys, like it just shows again Lesney trying to draft all these gems and they pan out and they said goodbye to Jalen Ramsey. By the way, I caught up briefly with Jalen Ramsey in the Dolphins locker room. He's doing well if people are interested. But to see guys like Darion Kendrick, he gets a little aggressive, but he's always confident and feisty and won't back down. And see him battle DK Metcalf. Was he the one that got shoved by DK too, right?
There was Witherspoon.
Okay, when actually he's been pretty helpful too. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing where I was going to go to is like they like Witherspoon, they like DK, and they like Kobe Durant, and also yeah, Russ Yeast being another second year guy, playing a lot. I think he played 100% of the snaps. I forget him and Jordan Fuller. And then I started wondering where is Trey Tomlinson? I don't see Trey Tomlinson.
And that
So
was a big thing. Like I know you're giving Deion Kendrick a lot of credit. I know I saw a lot of fans that were really
yeah,
critical. They want to see Trey Tomlinson, and they're like, "Why is he out there? Trey Tomlinson needs to be out there." So that's another. We'll talk about that
yeah.
as we get ready for the 49ers
It could
game.
it could be just simply a length thing. I don't know because he is bigger when you're facing a guy like DK, and that's he was on him a lot. And I know he lost a couple battles, but you look at the final stat sheet, it was just 47 yards for a touchdown. So maybe it was kind of one of those bold gambles that paid off. I don't know because I know they're high on Trey Tomlinson. So we'll see what happens for next week when you need more DBs for Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. You're gonna be really tested, but to at least show growth in the young guys and then be competitive and not lack confidence, you're gonna go into that 49ers game feeling pretty good and not overwhelmed. Maybe eventually talent's gonna beat the Rams because the 49ers are so stacked offensively. But just to show the confidence and the growth, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, and you need this, now people can be excited about this matchup between the Rams and the 49ers. You go in feeling well that hey, we have a shot now. We've proven that we've gone on the road, and now you get to face a marquee, offense and defense who just, beat down the Steelers on the road. So, and 49er fans are going to invade SoFi Stadium, so I mean, it's gonna be it'll tell us a lot about these 4 games that they have that the Rams have will tell us a lot, and this is another test for them, and we'll see where they're at because I know a lot of people are like, well, Seattle wasn't ready, and like as I said, it's gonna take about a month to figure out where this Rams team really is, and then we can judge them. And for so far, they passed the first test.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. That's why I'm kicking myself for really doubting the Rams, but I keep bringing up the schedule because it is going to be tough. So honestly, if they win one more from this gauntlet of the Eagles and the Bengals and 49ers, I feel good about them in your prediction of being a wild card team. If they lose all those 3 games, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that first game was a little fluky. I know they got the Colts somewhere in their sandwich in
Yeah.
between.
They're I think it's if I'm remembering right, it's 49ers, Bengals, Eagles, and
Ooh.
Colts.
Okay, so if you win one more of those next 3, you don't have to get 2 out of 3. Maybe I'm not the toughest grader here, but I think I will feel good about the Rams. Just get one more. They're at home for the 49ers game. That's also a big thing, and I think they're on the road for the Eagles and the Bengals. So, but we'll see. The Bengals, were struggling week 1. The Eagles kind of let the Patriots come back. So you never know in this league. But one thing we did find out: Matthew Stafford is healthy and ready to go, and I think that's a big sign for the Rams. They're going to be competitive, and we'll see how the rest plays out. But yeah, props to you and to getting this pick right. And I'm actually glad that I told myself, I won't let the Cooper Cup injury dictate what I my full feelings. Like saying, hey, they might be bad, they might tank. I gave them 7 wins. That's still competitive. We'll see how they do and if they surpass expectations. And if you want, get in the comments and tell me how I was wrong about the first game.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. Like I said, we don't know right off the bat. I'm a big trend guy. You know this from knowing me for a while now. That I always look at trends, and people will always look back to last season, and they make their predictions off of that. And for me, is I know there's always surprise teams. There's always going to be teams like the Browns, teams like the Rams who come out and win in week 1, and then like I said, we won't know how good these teams are until week 4 because a lot of these teams don't play their players in the preseason. But let's get to our who gets our 12 pack of the game. Gilbert, I'll start with you.
Yeah, we're giving out the good stuff. We're giving
Yeah.
out the 24 pack of Modelo's here. We do need a sponsor for this, so I shouldn't give
Yes.
them a shout out.
Yeah.
But I'm really undecided because there were just so many performances that I really liked. But and maybe this guy didn't get a lot of attention, but I'm just gonna go with it and because he set the tone. The Ernest Jones, just the way he was putting hits out there in front of his mentor Bobby Wagner, I think it really got people going, and maybe it was little small things you don't notice, but he was fast out there making plays, and they weren't like the biggest impact plays. Yeah, I know other guys. Obviously, Aaron Donald did well, and Puka and Tutu. Maybe I'll let you have the offense, but get that 24 pack Ernest Jones and hand it out to guys like Byron Young, Michael Hoy, Russ Yeast, Darion Kendrick, Kobe Durant. Obviously, Aaron Donald. He probably has his own because he has a lot of money. But that defense was just impressive and hand one to Raheem Morris. I know I gave the whole defense there, but they hold him to 13 points, 12 freaking yards, like you mentioned.
Yes.
Ernest Jones is the leader of the defense in the middle, so hand out the beers to everybody.
And I was gonna be right with you as well. And we put player, and so I was gonna go with Raheem Morris, but I got to give a shout out to to the 2 kids, the 2 23-year-olds and younger, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua. They can share a 24 pack. They can each get a 12 pack each, and just impressive. the young guys, no Cooper Cup, they came out and balled out, and there was that great catch in the sideline on a great route by Puka. And same thing with Tutu. I mean, he stayed in there. He got some big third downs. He was big. They needed both of those guys against the Seahawks, and it was just great seeing them be able to produce out there, and shout out to them, Gilbert. But with that,
Yeah.
that ends our recap of Rams Seahawks Week 1. Is there anything else you want to share before we leave?
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, check out the live post game show with yourself, Victor, and I think that's a good thing that you got going on because after a big win, people want to go somewhere to get analysis and talk to other people and be engaging. So always look out for that. Big Solo, I don't have as much time this year on Sundays, but I think maybe having me come on Mondays after the smoke screen wears out, you can kind of figure out everything after game day notes. So this could be a thing here on Mondays, and definitely check out our game previews. We try to get them on Wednesday nights, but mostly on Thursday morning. So always look out for that, and always leave comments and let us know what we can change, what we like. We really appreciate that. So I think that's the format there: live show after game days, Monday after game day. With me and yourself, and then back together for the preview. So check that out.
Yeah, I mean, we always appreciate the comments. There was 2 people who commented. We appreciate that, and then also on the post, the community post, as you posted, just giving the prediction for the game. Anything else, we'll try to get some replies for you guys. But with that, Gilbert, let's get out of here and let's close this out.
There you go. Victory Monday for everybody all around. Week 2 on to the 49ers week. We'll give you the preview as mentioned. But on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.